Nobody goes into the year thinking, how can I fail in my goals?
No.
Now, most of us don't do that, but the statistics show that most of us do. And so what we want to do this month is talk about why a lot of us fail at our goals. And one of the main reasons, and the one we're going to talk about today, is a lot of us are setting a goal, but we're not really dealing with the real problems beneath it. A lot of times we focus on things that maybe aren't the most important thing in our life. We make a goal over here, but the problem is really over here. It's like if you have a house and you've got termites and you see them in the wall and you think, I need to paint that wall. And so you paint the wall, but you never deal with the termites.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen again. Your wall's going to get messed up again. So on today's show, we're going to look at why a lot of us are focusing on the wrong thing and what we can do to really reach our goals.
This is the Thriving Man Podcast with David and Reese Maxwell. These weekly shows are designed to help you remove the confusion from your life and make real progress with your growth. No matter where you are or where you're going, we're here to help you live a life you can be proud of. So welcome to the Thriving Man Podcast.
Welcome to the Thriving Man Podcast, where our goal is to help you get out of survival mode and into living a life that you can be proud of. I'm Reese.
And I'm David.
And we are discussing the subject of goals. Here's the truth. And we gave this illustration last week. If you haven't checked it out, go do that because it sets a lot of foundational stuff up. The way we approach goals, a lot of times is like putting one leg on a chair. There's not a ton of stuff going into keeping that goal sustainable and keeping it balanced. So we crash and burn. The statistics are crazy at the failure rate for New Year's resolutions, but we want you to be different. Okay. So we've talked about strategy. We've talked about how you have to think through not just the what of what you want to achieve, but the how. And a lot of times focusing on the how can inform the what.
It's
make
true.
it more sustainable.
And when you do that, you go back and listen to the show. We don't want to get into all of it here, but a lot of us set goals and we never think about the how. And that's the problem. We're not going to reach them if we never really plan out, what am I going to do to actually help this goal come to pass?
Exactly. So today we are talking about adding another leg, which is evaluation. Evaluation is pivotal. It is paramount. I can't think of another word that starts with P that captures it, but it's paramount to being able to set a good goal. Because a lot of times we don't realize the biggest enemy in our goals can be ourselves.
Society wants us a lot of times to blame someone or something else. And there may be some reality to that. Someone may have done some things to you. They may have hurt you. They may have abused you. They may have, taken all your money, whatever. Things like that happen in life. But in the end, every man is responsible for himself. He's responsible for how he acts and how he responds, even if he was wronged in some way or another. And so what we want to do is really evaluate and look at, okay, what am I responsible for and what can I do? That should be a part of looking at your goals because you want to evaluate where does this goal fit in what I'm trying to do with my life.
A lot of guys walk around just being controlled by their impulses or their appetites. But God has given us the ability to think. To rationally look at ourselves and at the world around us. And this can lead to that fruit of the Spirit known as self-control, which is so important. So evaluation is a key part to getting to that level of self-discipline.
And it's so important for us as men because a man who's controlled by his appetites, that's a dangerous man. It's a man who doesn't know how to say no. And we've seen in society the guy who throws everything away for a one-time affair or who embezzles money out of nowhere. And what happens is those men a lot of times couldn't say no. They couldn't say, okay, that's not right. I'm not going to do that. They went farther and farther down. And it was because they didn't know how to say no to themselves. They didn't have self-control.
So when it comes to goals, self-control is almost like the fuel that they run on. But we have to have some evaluation time to build up that muscle. To be able to even start from a good point to achieving a goal, we need to evaluate two major things. One, we need to evaluate ourselves. And two, we need to evaluate the goal itself.
Yeah.
So let's start with evaluating yourself. You have this thing that you say called the mirror test. Explain
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
Well, the mirror test, if you haven't heard it, is when you stand in front of a mirror, what you see is reality. It's reality reflecting back to you. You may not like it. Like if you want to lose weight or you want to reshape your body or something like that, there may be parts of your body you don't like. But that's what's there.
Yep.
So in a mirror, there's no judgment. There's just reality. And you can't deal with your body or what you want to do unless you look at it honestly. You know, if you don't have any mirrors in your house, how are you going to know? One, are the clothes I'm wearing even fitting right? You know, and what you want to do as a man is be able to evaluate yourself like a mirror with no judgment, where you're just looking at your life. What's the reality of my life? Take judgment out of it. Some things may be your fault. Some things maybe, like I said, have been done to you. Take that out and just look at the reality. Where am I at today? That's what we have to do in the mirror test. Really look at ourselves in the most honest way we can.
Yeah, and I love that illustration because a lot of times we lean towards one of the two ways. Either we lean towards, I'm going to beat myself up to where I'm so ashamed, I'm not even going to set a goal anymore because I'm garbage. Or we're like, I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
You know, like if we're in front of the mirror, it's like we pull back the fat to be behind our back and we're like,
We've all
not
done
too
that.
bad.
Yeah.
And we can lean either way. Neither is good.
Yeah.
A good way to see if you're being honest with yourself or not is run your evaluations by other people.
It is.
Because other people don't have the lens that you do. Whether your lens is a negative lens or your lens is an overly positive lens.
Yeah.
Other people, a lot of times, trustworthy people, that's important.
Yeah.
But a lot of other trustworthy people don't have that lens. They see you more like you are because they don't have the rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, and you want to try to find those people who, one, will be honest with you, which means you have to give them permission, which means you kind of let them know, hey, I need honesty. And if they give you honest truth and you don't like it, you don't bite their head off. You don't make excuses. You're just saying, hey, just give me the truth. This is what I think about myself. What do you think? And then, I can be a friend. It could be a family member. It could be one of the best ways is to get someone who's maybe a coach or someone that's a trainer where that's their job. And they can look at you that way and they're going to give you the honest opinion, you know, because they don't really have a relationship with you. So they can speak truth. And so you want to find those people who can help you really evaluate yourself. You can do it, but sometimes we have to learn to pass it through others to make sure that we're seeing the truth and we're not just hiding behind something.
Exactly. And like we said, sometimes that's positive, sometimes that's negative.
Yeah.
A lot of times for me, I tend towards judging myself a little too harshly.
Yeah.
And it's good for me to run my goals by people, for them to be like, chill out. It's not that bad, actually. You know, and that helps me.
Yeah.
We all have a bend one way or the other. And just running it by people can help neutralize that in a very good way.
It can. And one of the other things you can do is also just look at your track record.
True.
You know, if you go from relationship to relationship to relationship, and that's your track record, you can blame the other women all the time. But the common theme of all of those is you.
Start
is me.
looking at the man in
the man in the mirror. But what you want to do is also say, well, I keep dating women who are kind of weird and freaky. Well, that could be you're not good at picking women. Or you're going to the wrong places to find them.
Right.
You know, instead of going to a church to find them, you're going to Tinder. Well, that's very different places. So what you want to do is find a way to really look at your track record and go, okay, honestly, if I looked at it honestly, I'm not very good at this, even though I think I might be. And that can help you see honest truth in your life.
Yeah, and you just looking at your strengths and weaknesses. A lot of times, to be honest, the negative is very easy to spot. That's usually what people's New Year's resolutions are about.
It is
bad things. It's pretty easy to see that, but we need to focus on looking at what's actually causing harm and not just what is the reason for comparison. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But then a lot of times the good stuff just gets forgotten.
It does.
If you have a strength that needs to be built or a gift that needs to be developed, we need to look at those too, and those can be a result of the goals.
Yeah, and a lot of people, when they think of goals, like you said, with the New Year's resolutions and everything, we're always looking at, what do I suck at? Let me get better at it. And there's a place for that. But you also want to look at, what am I good at? What can I get better at? What do I enjoy? What brings me life that I can get better at? When you do those things, it actually makes goals a little more exciting.
Exactly. So looking at your own strengths and weaknesses is vital. Take the mirror test.
Yeah.
Now, we've already kind of discussed the goals, but let's get into the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah.
There are really two categories of goals that you can set.
Yeah.
The first category, and what we're going to focus on for the moment, is a goal that stops the harmful. Anything that is causing harm in your life. And I think that's an important differentiation we need to make.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have weaknesses that don't matter.
Yeah.
Let me give an example. Dad, you've talked many times about not really being able to sing that well. That's not a big deal.
Yeah. I'm not going on, American Idol or The Voice.
Yeah. You're not on a show. You're not getting paid to do that.
Yeah.
Nobody's expecting that of you. Now, you can look at another singer and say, I want to be able to sing like Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, first of all, you're a dude. But second, why? And sometimes we get caught in that.
Yeah.
And
we do.
So we're not talking about just the comparison game. I want to be good at what somebody else is good at just because I feel like it.
Yeah.
We're talking about things that are actually detrimental to yourself and to the people around you.
Yeah. When you're evaluating your goal, you want to look at that first one to say, okay, what's hurting me? And when we say hurting you, we mean actually causing some type of distress or pain or whatever. It could be your health. You could have had a doctor tell you, hey, you got to do something about your blood pressure, your weight, these things. You got to deal with that. It could be in your relationship. Maybe you do always pick freaky women. Well, that means there's something in you that you need to change. Maybe you draw them to you, you go after them. Or, again, going back to your health, your diet. Maybe you realize, okay, I drink 2 liters every day of Coke. That's a problem.
Yep.
That's a problem. Or it could be some out of control addiction in your life. Maybe you watch a whole lot of porn, or you play a whole lot of online video games, or you doom scroll for hours on end, or you just binge watch Netflix every night. Anything like that that's hurting you, it's hurting your time, it's hurting your relationships. Those are the things that you really want to deal with. You don't want to ignore them. You say, well, I've tried to stop and I can't. Well, okay, there's some things you can do about that, but you want to actually recognize them. This is hurting me, and this is where I want to set a goal so it doesn't hurt me anymore.
Yeah, and I think, like we said earlier, make sure to pick the main one.
Yeah.
Because usually there's going to be one big thing that's just very clearly like, okay, this is not good.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of guys let it get to the point to where it's life or death.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not for you. Hopefully you can stop it before your wife says, hey, one more time and I'm out the door.
Yep.
Hopefully you can stop it before, hey, one more bill, one more fall in my credit score and I won't be able to stay in this house anymore. Hopefully you're not there. However, a lot of times the things that are actually harmful, you've probably already thought of it by now. As a listener, you probably already know.
And the reality is they're uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable to fix. They're uncomfortable to look at.
That's a good point.
And so you want to say, okay, just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean I need to ignore it. Because if you ignore it, it's not going to fix it. It's not going to make it happen. Now, some things may be a blind spot.
That's true.
You may not know. And that's where you want to get those people who can be honest with you or look at your track record.
Yeah, the mirror time.
Yeah, you may think, I'm fine. It's all the women in my life. Well, when you look at your track record, you realize, okay, maybe something's going on. So you go to a trusted source. You go talk to someone. But if you ignore your problems, they're not going to go away. If you have a broken arm and you ignore it, it may heal back somewhat, but it's going to heal back kind of wonky. And you may never be able to use your arm again. You don't want your life to be like that, where you have things happening in your life, and just because it's hard or just because it's going to take you to maybe have to do something you don't want to do, you just ignore it. And that's what a lot of guys do with the stuff that's hard for them.
Yeah. And I like what you said earlier about invite other people into that. If you're evaluating your own weaknesses, ask somebody too.
Yeah.
A trustworthy person, of course. Even I like what you said earlier about coaching. I mean, think of a professional athlete. Professional athletes have coaches.
They do.
Is that because they suck at the sport?
Yeah.
No, it's because they're so good and tuned into the sport that they know, oh man, if I could just get that dialed in, we'd be so much better.
Yeah.
I'd be able to really edge out in that win, in that scenario.
Yeah.
So they lean on the coach to optimize the things that they're good at or find the small things that they're not good at.
Yeah.
That's why we call our program life coaching, because we're not here because you suck at life. Hopefully you're in a good spot.
Yeah.
We hope you are, but we're here to help you optimize. We're here to help you find those little blind spots,
Yeah.
to find those small things, to really make those decisions for yourself and learn how to recognize them and get a team around you to where you don't need us anymore.
Yeah.
That would be great.
That would be.
If you could just do one set of coaching and then boom, you're golden because
Yeah.
you've gotten the habits. What we want for you and what hopefully everyone in your life wants for you is the ability to honestly evaluate their own weaknesses and strengths.
Yeah, and understand at the end of the weaknesses, there may be some things in your life you can't beat on your own.
That's true.
And you need someone. It could be a counselor. It could be a pastor. It could be an accountability partner. It could be a 12-step group. And that's a reality. Because a lot of us are dealing with things that we've had maybe since childhood, and we've never defeated it. Well, if you've never defeated it, most likely you're not going to defeat it just because you decide to one day.
That's a good point.
It means there's other stuff going on in there, and you want to kind of get that out, and you're going to need help with that. And that's where counseling, a therapist, a good therapist, people like that, they can help you do that. And what it is they're coaches. They're just emotional coaches or mental coaches or spiritual coaches. They can help you with those things. So you want to look at that as a way of, this is someone who's helping me improve my performance. It doesn't mean you're a freak. It just means you've got some things you want to work through that'll make you stronger in the end. You can't have a strength if your weaknesses keep cutting out your legs. And sometimes you're just going to need that person to help you along, to help pull you through so you can actually get to your strengths.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I absolutely agree with that. So we have evaluating yourself.
Yeah.
Looking at yourself honestly. We have making goals that are dealing with the harmful things in your life, which are important. That's the first category, is the things that are dealing with the harmful.
Yeah.
But then there's a second category, and this is in my opinion the most enjoyable, the fun one.
It is.
Which is building on your strengths. A lot of times we get so caught up in our weaknesses that we forget about our strengths.
We do.
And God has given us strengths for a reason.
Yeah.
You can be, let's say you cannot sing a single note well, but man, you can look at any kind of DIY project and just kill it.
Yep.
That's how your brain works. You're like, okay, I'm supposed to do that. Your spatial and your kinesthetic abilities are super high.
Yeah.
Lean into that.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get paid to be a singer.
Well, and every man is good at something.
Exactly. Yes.
Every man has things they're into, they're good at. It could be a hobby. It could be a collection thing. It could be what you do on the side, but every man's good at something. Find those things you're good at and that you enjoy and say, okay, what's a goal to help me get better at this? Because what you're doing is you're setting a goal in an area that's naturally something you want to do.
Yes.
So you're not having to, I got to go do this. I have to go do that. And we set, a lot of times, all our goals are that way. Set some goals in your areas of strengths, something you want to get better for. Let's say if you enjoy reading, and you think, I want to read more books, or I'm going to have a reading time, or I'm going to build a reading place in my house. Or maybe you love guns and you want to get better at shooting. So you set times to go shoot regularly. Or you want to get good at breaking your gun down and putting it back together. I saw one of the old John Wick movies the other day, and he took all these handguns and made one gun out of all these different pieces in of course, 15 seconds, which I'm sure there's people out there who can do that. But find those things that you're into and say, okay, what can I do to make a goal in this so I get better at it? And I think you'll find a natural motivation that comes out of that.
No, I agree. And I think that's a part of stewardship too.
Yeah, it is.
What are you good at, and how can you get better at that? And how can you contribute to the lives of others through that? Or let's say you got a great family. How can you continue to invest in it so it stays great and gets even better? Those are exciting questions to ask. And they're questions that you should have permission to ask.
Yeah, and that's good because a lot of times we think life's only about fixing stuff. I've got to fix this, I've got to fix that. But life's also about living. It's about building those relationships. It's about having that good time with your family, or that connection, that deep connection with friends.
Yep.
And a lot of times when we're always trying to fix something, we're not really living life. And then we wonder why we're not enjoying life, why there's no real meaning to our life. And I think it's because we've forgotten that those things that we enjoy are okay to enjoy. It's part of who we are.
Yeah. Life isn't just a problem to be fixed.
Yeah.
It's a gift to be enjoyed.
That's good.
I mean, so much of what we've received in our lives is a gift that we didn't earn. We didn't build it ourselves.
Yeah.
A lot of times the family members we have or the friends we have, we didn't craft those relationships on our own.
Yeah.
It took God blessing us and other people contributing to be able to make those happen. And so we want you to widen your goal view and not get so narrowed in to where all you can see is the negative. Because you have strengths that matter to your kids, to your friends, to your church. Man, I mean, we've talked about this a couple weeks ago, but there's a guy at our church who's a big tech head. He loves sound, and he's really leaned into that, and he has helped our church so much by doing what he loves and he's good at. He is a sound nerd, and I love it.
Yeah.
I would love for him to be as nerdy as he can be all the time.
Yeah, and you think about when you're excited about something, how easy it is to influence other people for good. Like my dad was just visiting, and I was asking about my uncle, what's happening with them. And somehow we got on the subject. They just bought a Sleep Number bed. And I love my Sleep Number bed.
Yep.
And Sleep Number, if you'd like to sponsor the podcast, please give us a call.
Free.
But I love my bed. And I had talked about it so passionately with them. He said they recently got one.
Wow.
And I was like,
You're
I didn't
welcome.
even know I did that.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things when you're passionate about something, it's amazing how many other people out there need what you're passionate about. They're excited about what you're passionate about. And it just makes you feel good. You're contributing to other people.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't want to just let your goals be on the negative. Put some goals on those strengths. And it'll change your attitude, and it'll really influence the people around you.
Yeah. And if you have fallen out of touch and have said, I've lived in the obligation for so long, I don't even know how to connect with what I like. Fantastic book recommendation for you, Work Plus Love by Marcus Buckingham.
Yeah.
It is not an expensive book, but it is so worth it. It helps you ask some of the right questions to reconnect with how God wired you and how you can use that to not only enjoy life, but contribute to the lives of others by doing what you enjoy.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
fantastic book. I recommend picking it up.
Yeah.
But our overall theme for today was to evaluate. Evaluate the why. Evaluate yourself and evaluate what kind of goals you are setting. Because if those two don't match, you're going to set yourself up for failure. If you are not really into education, it doesn't interest you, and your goal is to get a doctorate degree by the end of the year, stop for your own sake, please. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of time, but we do that to ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
And so we just want to give you permission to stop, you know? So do you have any final thoughts before we let the guys go?
Yeah, no, I would say that, you want to have a goal in that weak area. You want to have a goal in your strength.
That's
and
true.
so we want to give you that permission to rethink your goals for this year. You know, when you do the evaluation, put your goals that you've made on there and say, okay, do these fit that? Because here's the deal. You're gonna take last week, which is the strategy we talked about, come up with a strategy, but you want to make sure that you're strategizing in a way that you're directing the energy of your life into those areas that hurt you and those areas that grow you, those areas that you're just natural in. When you do those two, that helps balances your goal out.
Yeah,
You may have to
that's
deal
really
with some
good.
areas that just, they're the things you suck at, you need to get better at, or the things that are controlling you that you want to win over. But when you're focusing also on something that you enjoy, that you're getting good at and you're getting better, well, that just makes life a little more nice. You're motivated and you have a little more power to work on that other area to get better at it so it doesn't hurt you as much in the future.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And these two legs we talked about adding are strategy kind of legs. They're high level thinking.
Yeah.
And you are capable of high level thought.
Yes, you are.
We want to let you know that you can think deeply. A lot of the ancient philosophers, a lot of the deep theologians were men.
Yep.
And so you're capable of it.
Yeah.
It is very possible. And so we've got those two. The third leg we want to add to bring it to 4 actually has 2 prongs. So we're going to cover it over a 2-week time period. But it's very important. So stick with us, ask some of these questions that we gave you, and get ready because next week is going to be awesome. We'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to the Thriving Man Podcast. If you want to check out more resources from David and Reese, you can go to thrivingman.com. We'll see you in the next episode.